let's turn our attention to the two preliminary finals coming up this week. Bit of a throwback to last decade with this matchup. Geelong versus Hawthorn. 7:40 p.m. Friday at the MCG. JB, you'll be there. They played once this year. That was Easter Monday, that classic. The Cats won by just 7 points. But, Christian, by far the lowest margin win by the Cats for matches between these teams for some time.
Yeah, last 4 games, Geelong's won all of them. So, as you mentioned, one was just a 7-point win this year. But if you look at all 4 together, 44 points is the average margin. I think 2 of them have been by over 50 points that Geelong's won in the last 2 years. So, I know leaving the office, the Champion Data offices today, there was a few very confident Hawthorn supporters that were sort of, sounded a bit happy that they were playing Geelong because they think they'll get them. And I sort of thought, well, have you seen the recent history against them? Hasn't been that good. So I don't know where their confidence has come from.
Put them back in their box.
Arrogant supporter base, they are.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that. So if you had to try and pinpoint how each team will try and win this one, Christian, where should we be looking for, let's say, the Hawks first up?
Yeah, well, sort of look at them together. Both together and sort of the game styles they play. So one of the things you can look at is just how high are your match scoring, so your aggregate score across the game. Geelong's average score across their games is 180 points, a score between them and their opposition, which is the 3rd highest. For Hawthorn, it's 164. It's ranked 13th highest. So Geelong, happy to get into a high-scoring game. Hawthorn, we know about. We speak about Hawthorn and hockball and how exciting it can be. It's defence. They've really built themselves and their identity around defence, and it's underrated. But they sort of want to play a lower scoring, harder fought game, which is what finals usually are. Whereas Geelong will be happy to have a sort of more open scoring game, which is similar to the stoppages. So Geelong sort of have the 8th most stoppages in a game this year. Hawthorn has the most stoppages. So stoppages being throw-ins and ball up, so around the ground stoppages. Hawthorn like to keep the game congested and sort of keep it moving slowly. Geelong, we know, not huge on the contested possession thing, but love to sort of get you on the outside, the Holmes, the Bailey Smith, the up and down sort of counter-attack football. So that's just, looking at sort of what suits each team. You sort of think, well, a high-scoring game is going to suit Geelong and a low-scoring game is going to suit Hawthorn. And as
what's the weather looking like? Actually,
and rain and finals. So rain and finals usually means lower-scoring games. So.
What's the difference between a slower, more defensive game and then pressure? Because Geelong's pressure against Brisbane really stopped Brisbane's ball movement. So could you argue that Geelong's pressure is going to be good enough that they actually sort of want that tight game so they can apply enough pressure on Hawthorn?
And Geelong, it's not like they'll get beaten if it is a tight game. It's just how their games have trended out towards the year. So with Geelong, and it's probably why we've sort of got them favourite, their ability to just play any game style. They can beat you from clearances if they have to. They can beat you from turnovers, and that's why you make it that far. So as I said, it's a nice to have for Geelong to play a more open game style and Hawthorn to play a tighter game. But if Geelong gets sucked into a real high pressure clearance contested possession game, it's not going to sort of throw them out of whack. So as I said, Hawthorn probably better at actual smashing in and pressuring the ball carrier, whereas Geelong, you think about Tom Stewart, Blix, it's more behind the ball. You look up and you're just going to kick it straight to.
So it makes sense that this is going to be a much bigger challenge for the Hawks. I mean, the team that they played last week in Adelaide really struggled to move the ball, whereas the Cats seem to be very good at it. So. Yes, Adelaide obviously struggled to do it and that was easier to stop, but the Cats aren't going to sort of give you that sort of easy sort of look at their runners and their players that are moving the ball from D50 to I50.
Yeah, and Geelong as well are so much better. One of the things I spoke about with Adelaide, how their forward half intercepts just dried right away. So if you did get the ball in Adelaide's back line, you were able to find your way out and sort of get out. If you didn't get out, it was probably going to turn into a stoppage, which gives you the ability to defend again rather than them intercepting the ball. You look at Geelong, number 1 for forward half. 4th for forward half intercepts. Number 1 for points from forward half intercepts. Number 3 for time in forward half. Hawthorn 9th for time in forward half. So Geelong like to keep it in their forward half a lot more. Hawthorn like to expand the ground and try to get it moving. But that's a problem against Geelong. You can't expect to get the ball in your centre half back line and go easy against Geelong. Especially, as I said, the wet weather will help Hawthorn in the low scoring department, but it will take away their ability to sort of play a fast ball moving game.
We'll touch on this later, but the Cats also have that sort of ace up the sleeve where they're not afraid to tag, not afraid to put defensive pressure on. We saw what they did in the first week of the qualifying finals against Brisbane by clamping a number of the Stars. The Suns didn't do that against the Lions, but we will definitely expect that Chris Scott will probably circle a couple of players on the Hawthorn list and do that. I think we might touch on that a little bit later. A margin and a tip from you, JB, on this one?
Geelong Hawthorn. Cats by 9 points, I'll go.
Christian?
Cats by Yeah, 15.
Yeah, I think I'm Geelong too by probably.
They look so bulletproof against Brisbane. They
Primed for
deserve
this time of year.
favouritism. Yeah, they are. But yeah,
20 points, Cats for me. All right, second prelim. So Saturday evening, Collingwood versus Brisbane, 5:15 p.m. at the MCG. That's a nice
Big fan of the
start.
twilight.
I'd love
Yeah,
that.
the
Yeah,
twilight
not for the
final.
grand final. Leave the afternoon grand final.
Yeah,
Let's
I
all have our
agree.
barbecues. Let's all wrap up by sort of 7 o'clock. But
Like the sun in the eyes.
5:15 for a prelim is great because it still means that Brisbane, if they win, they can get back to Brisbane that evening. You would expect them to get on a flight sort of around that 9:30.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I guess for the media, you're probably wrapped up by about 9:10 as well, instead
Yep.
of after midnight. They've played twice this year. On Easter Thursday, the Pies won that clash, and then later in the year at the MCG, the Lions were winners there. So mixed form coming into this one, including winning at each other's home ground. The Pies are well rested, another week off, which is exactly what they would have been after. You spoke to Coxie about this and how much it's benefited them this year compared to other years. While the Lions probably have, 5 of their best 22 still out. I'll give you Lachie Neale, Jack Payne, Eric Hipwood, Kadeem Coleman when he's fit, and one of Tom Doedee or Noah Answorth or Lincoln McCarthy on their day. So that's potentially 5 of their best 22.
The only thing I
Still
will
out.
say with Brisbane's outs, like the majority of those, 90% of them haven't really been there.
They're
all
still
year
out, though.
round.
You'd
No,
still
they're,
like to
they're
have them.
out, but they've been a good enough team without them regardless.
And something I definitely noticed on Saturday night was that Kai Lohman, I know that he shaved his head, which was very confusing. I was thinking, why is Brandon Starcevich in the forward line all of a sudden? But his ankle looked really sore and he was limping around the rooms afterwards. Yeah, limping around on the ground, but was limping around the rooms afterwards as well. So that's one to keep an eye on as well. It just, to me, this one looks like the better rested team will win this one. But can you make a case for the Lions winning this?
So, similar to what the Lions did against Gold Coast, if the game's going to be on their terms, if they can get the ball more, then they're going to be in better chance. Collingwood are happy to have less of the ball, be a bit more reactive. They're sort of, and you look at the differential this year, so where they rank, and to keep in mind, they both got to preliminary finals, so they both got ticks across the season, but contested possession differential, Brisbane were 8th in the positive, Collingwood are 15th in the negative. Ground ball differential, Brisbane 3rd best, Collingwood 16th. Clearance differential, Brisbane 3rd best, Collingwood 12th. Moving the ball from back 50 to forward 50, even that, Brisbane are 3rd best, Collingwood's 10th. Using the corridor coming out of the back line, so how aggressive are you? Brisbane's 2nd for using the corridor coming out of back 50, so the 2nd most aggressive team. Collingwood's 16th, so happy to go around the boundary. So it's one of those ones where, similar to, as I said, Brisbane, Gold Coast, you're keeping an eye on the numbers and you're looking at Brisbane, how you expect Brisbane to be ahead in most of the stats, but it's just how far ahead. So if Collingwood can keep the marks within, 10 or 15 marks, if the ground balls are within 10 or 15, they only lose the clearances by 5 or 10. The way Collingwood play, they take their ability to sort of get a goal from limited opportunities is better than anyone else, whereas Brisbane, 12th for scoring per inside 50. So really need a lot of inside 50s, need a lot of marks, and you can almost, with this game, you can almost just have the stat sheet without the score bug at the top, and you could cover the score, look at the stat sheet, and probably guess who's winning based on, has Brisbane had enough of the ball to beat Collingwood? So even disposals, even marks, even clearances, I'd be tipping Collingwood to win quite easily because they do get more value per possession, whereas Brisbane really needs to dominate territory, clearances, which they quite often do. But it's one of those ones where, you look at Brisbane, and if it's especially inside 50, if it's even inside 50s, Collingwood's been about 3 or 4% better at scoring from their entries than Brisbane has been this year. So, one of those ones where it's an intriguing one, but Brisbane probably got the better looking stats, but Collingwood's got the game plan that sort of doesn't rely on them having to win those head-to-head stats.
These numbers are quite contrasting. Is that how we saw their previous 2 matches?
No, they've both been played
anyway?
completely different ways. So, and it's quite funny that Collingwood, in terms of Collingwood, won the game at the Gabba and Brisbane won the game at the MCG.
Yeah.
Both were basically smashings when you go through the stat sheet. The Gabba game, Brisbane had nothing going good for them, and by the MCG game, Brisbane were sort of on top of most of the stats. So they've both been able to get each of the games on their terms, and that's one of the things. It's like once the game starts, if one team gets their foot in front and can sort of dictate the terms of the game, that's probably how it's going to play out, which you can never predict.
One thing that the Pies did really well in their qualifying final win was restrict Adelaide's quality entries inside 50. And this is an area where I can see them forcing Brisbane to have poor looks again. And you talked about that sort of efficiency inside 50 and the need to have quality entries. You got to have a way to stop Collingwood's interceptors taking marks. Yep. They had 28 intercept marks in that win against Adelaide, which was far too many. And the looks that they were getting, they were trying to go inside 50 from sort of 75, 80, 85 metres out. too shallow, getting marked, or they were too close to the line and they were getting punched over the line. Brisbane needs to be dynamic with their entries. They need to get Cam Rayner into the game. He can be really hot or cold. He was really hot last week, but he can be really hot or cold in some matches and goes missing. Lohman, as I said, yes, he looks a bit sore, but Charlie Cameron as well, 0-3 on the weekend, probably wasn't sighted against Geelong, needs to have a big week. So being able to bring the ball to ground, not let Collingwood's interceptors go to work and actually have these dynamic entries will go a long way to getting enough of a score on the board for the Lions.
Yep.
Having said that, the well-rested aspect. I mean, there'll be a couple of names on the Pies whiteboard that might be looking to come in as well, JB?
Potentially. Well, Jeremy Howe and Bobby Hill would be the two that they could bring in who haven't played much footy in the back end of the season. I don't know, would you take that risk with both of them?
I think Howe, well,
Yeah.
I've just been expecting Howe to play.
Yeah, adductor injuries, 35-year-old. I think you've got to play him.
Both of them?
Yeah, Bobby maybe as like a sub.
Interesting.
Just for that second half spark.
Injection.
And it's sort of,
Yeah.
I don't mean to be too disrespectful, but the two guys that probably go out are Will Parker and Rowan Steele, who's like, well...
Are you getting more from these guys or are you getting more from a quarter of Bobby Hill?
Yeah, even though you don't know how Howe's going to pull up by the end of the game, I still think you're going to back Jeremy Howe to probably give you a little bit more than those two.
Arguably the most important player, Jeremy Howe. When you look at the difference between Collingwood in the front half of the season and the back half of the season, when he was there and when he wasn't there, they're completely different the way they set up defensively, the way they were able to defend quick transition ball movement, which is probably their one deficiency all season. So he would be a massive inclusion. I haven't checked the weather forecast though.
I think the weekend is a bit average overall.
Is it?
Yeah, but that's subject to change. I mean, we're recording this Monday afternoon, so it's always going to change. JB, a margin and a tip in this game, please.
Well, I said before the final series that the winner of Geelong-Brisbane will obviously be the favourite. Everyone thought that. I said that would be the grand final matchup regardless, and I thought the loser would come the other way around and they'd play against each other again. So if I'm a man on my word, I'll just say Brisbane will win this, but I do feel like Collingwood will win. So I'm almost fence-sitting, but I'll say Pies by 4 points. I'm going to change my mind. I'll say Pies.
Pies by 4. Christian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll probably lean towards Collingwood as well. And it's the rest. It's probably just their ability to sort of... They've been able to plan. They've been 2 weeks of planning now, probably plan for Brisbane really, really well. I know Brisbane will plan for Collingwood and the same sort of thing, but they're also, as you said, got to get fit again, like Lohman and more things to worry about. I think Collingwood just, with that perfect lead up, probably 7 or 8 points, I tipped them by.
Yeah, I think Brisbane's best is better, but I reckon Collingwood are going to be really well prepared.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Don't disagree with that, yeah.
They played 3 times, I tipped Brisbane every time, but just this one game this week, I think Collingwood's just going to be able to,
Pies, I think maybe it'll be close. 10 points maybe. Maybe not within a kick, but within that sort of realm.